First of all, I wanted to thank you for taking time to sit down with me. I know you're super busy. You just got off tour. You're about to go on another tour. I just wanted to kind of open with like, what's it like preparing for tour? Especially you got such a lineup coming up with Memphis, Mayfire, and Parkway Drive. Like that's got to be so fun.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be awesome. We're excited. So like, yeah, when we're getting ready for tour, there's like a few things that we got to do. Usually, it's like mostly just like getting merch, making sure we rehearse, and we'll test the van and make sure it's like all good to go. But that's our problem right now is we're having some van problems, but I think we'll be okay. So cool.
Do you think, because I know like live music basically shut down for like 2 years, do you think like COVID and lockdown had like any effect on like how you look at touring or your process or anything like that?
You appreciate it a lot more not having it for like so long, but besides that, it feels like it's pretty much back to normal where it was before now. For the first couple, it was a little people are like hesitant and nobody really knows like what's good, I guess, like so there was a lot of like safety precautions and all that stuff. So but people still came out and still like had a good time and all that. So I think everybody just after COVID appreciates shows a lot more and are just like, they're really full on into it. Like people are way more like just appreciative of the time and like getting to see the bands and all that.
Do you feel like it's had any other like major impact on your career, like anything about your process or how you look at your career?
It didn't really change much for us. I will say it 2020 was actually not like too bad of a year for us besides not being able to like tour, but we did release a record in that time, The Way It Ends, and that actually I think helped a lot because people were pushing back releases around that time because nobody really knew what was going on, and we were already pretty committed to getting it out there because it was so close anyway. So we're just like, okay, let's just put it out and whatever happens happens, right? And it ended up being good because there wasn't a lot else going on music wise during COVID. I know some people release records, but I feel like that was like a pretty big bump for us, and it helped it get the record out there like a lot more, and like there was just more people that were ready to just give it its full attention and stuff. So that was good for us. Besides that, it hasn't really changed our process all that much. Like we kind of just have been keeping on the same that we normally do. It just touring was out of the equation for a little while.
And with that, I know with like all of your records, you've been doing like the instrumental releases. With that last record, when I listen to it, like it's so cool to me.
Yeah.
Is there like a reason that you guys decided to release all the like instrumental versions? I'm just personally really curious.
We like them. I've always liked having the like instrumentals of bands that I like, and a lot of times you can't get them unless you get stems from somebody or like you alter them digitally to try to get rid of vocals and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's like just to be able to give that as another way to listen to it and like hear everything that's going on. That's something that we're all super about. And as somebody who used to do like a lot of vocal covers, like learning how to scream and all that stuff, like to have something that doesn't have the vocals on it, so you can just put your own on there, like record it yourself and just like make covers and stuff, like it's awesome.
So you personally started with covers?
Yeah, when I was getting started, there's not like a lot of, at the time that I started learning, I was like probably like, I got interested by like 13, 14 years old. And at that time there was like a few things out, like Melissa Cross was already like kind of a big name. She had like Zenna Screaming Part 1 and Part 2. YouTube is another resource where like people who, knew how to do it, like they post covers and then they'd be like, this is how I do it. This is things or whatever. So like, there's a lot of that just like knowledge that's available still on the internet. So like, that was kind of my main basis for learning. And then beyond what people say and like what you should do and what you shouldn't do, it's like the only real way you can learn is just to like try to do it. So I just find people that I could like emulate, and I would or voices that I liked and stuff that I could kind of do with like what I understood of how to do it, and then went from there. But yeah, I think everybody that does like at least screaming, you got to start somewhere, and covers are like a good way to do that, and they're a good way to test your progress too.
Mhm. So you said you started at 13?
Yeah, that was when I was like first getting interested in it. Obviously you're like a little kid, so you're just like,
Mhm.
and like you're like, oh, that doesn't work, that's not how that happens, so like
Yeah.
you figure it out. And then I think by like 14, I think like I did it for like a year, and I started to at least be able to make like little noises, and then just kept going over time, and got lucky, joined some bands, so I had some like real world practice doing it. It was like I got to just start doing the thing in front of people at like a pretty young age, like right when I was just at that spot where I was like understanding it.
Mhm.
So pretty fortunate situation.
And you joined Currents like later on, around like 2015, I think I saw, right?
Yeah, I
Um,
had 5 like projects before Currents. 2, I think, played shows. The others were like studio things, or like my first band were just sitting in a garage and screaming to like Parkway Drive songs and Asking Alexandria songs and all that stuff, and then just like screwing around. But like, yeah, like a few projects, some fun stuff. One real serious one, and then then Currents picked me up when it was like I was right at the spot where I was like, okay, this is like my 5th time trying this. Like if this doesn't work, I think I'm just out. And then that was when the opportunity came up for Currents, and I stuck with it.
so what do you think was different about Currents versus like your other projects?
Currents had this weird thing where, so they used to play shows, mostly to small like teen centers and DIY venues around Connecticut. And in their hometown, they had they were already cool. Like they were the coolest thing to come out of the town in a while, right? And so that kind of spreads around Connecticut. It's like, okay, Ridgefield, Newtown, this band is like really popping off, and it kind of just afforded them this like just getting that like really good ground start, and like developing like in their cities, and then just moving across Connecticut. They had this crazy like built-in following in Connecticut. Like they were the band. Like anytime like a big touring act came through, or like a really cool band was coming to town and was going to play a show, and they needed like bands to fill up the lineup, like Currents was always on it, because they just had it like that in Connecticut. And then members kind of fell off a little bit. The old vocalist decided he just wasn't about it anymore. Like he just had other things going on in life and just wanted to kind of move on. And they knew that I was serious and that I was kind of like free agent, I guess. And they grabbed me from there.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah, and we were all homies too. Like we were all playing shows together and stuff at the time. Like I knew all the guys super well already. Like we had mutual friends and all that stuff.
Speaking of, you mentioned a little bit like kind of that foundation of like having a fan base. You guys reached like a couple of pretty big milestones, I'd say, recently. Reaching 800,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. One of your new singles reached 2 million streams. Can you explain like what that means to you guys? Like that's got to be huge.
It is kind of crazy, honestly. It's like we're just sitting here like kind of feeling like we haven't really done much of anything since the end of last year. Like our last tour was like ended in December, and from that point, like I think kind of starting like when that tour ended, it just started to kind of like grow. And it's been steadily climbing for a little bit, but like 800, I think it's past like 900 now, which is kind of like insane. So we're just like where are these people? Like, who are you guys? But like, it's cool. We're not gonna complain. So it's exciting, and we're like just grateful, and it like we got a lot of cool stuff coming. So like, or all these people are hopefully gonna be stoked on that.
I mean, with all the new stuff coming, is there anything that like you can share with us, a little like WSOU insider?
Ooh, I maybe we might we might have something going on right before this tour starts. Um, so in like I don't know, in like a week-ish from today. But I'm not gonna say what that something is, but um it's something we usually do before a tour sometimes. So
So
that's that,
real
I guess.
fans are gonna know what to expect.
Yeah, I don't know what to expect, but they know the vibes.
So with this tour, I know I'm not alone in hoping that this means like more new music. Is there any track that you haven't released that you're super excited to like put out
Oh
in
yeah.
this year?
Yeah, 100%. We had we had the Death We Seek that came out like right at the end of the summer, and then we dropped Vengeance like 2 months ago, I think. And it feels like it's time. And there's definitely some stuff that is just kind of like hiding, that is just, I don't know, I'm stoked. It's gonna be awesome when people get to hear it.
And with Vengeance, when I took a listen to your newest singles, Vengeance was one of the ones that really stuck out to me because it's such a powerful message. It's such a strong song, and I know it resonates with a lot of people. I was just wondering what you were thinking when you guys were writing it.
So with Vengeance, that was a studio written song, which we kind of never do. Usually everything's pretty much all set, like ready to go, and then we go and like start tinkering with stuff before it's like ready to be like finally recorded, like mixed and mastered and all that. And in this case, we knew we had kind of a box that we didn't have checked. Like we like to have something that's a little more like straightforward, heavy, like just like really aggressive. And we didn't really have that yet. Like each thing that we were working on had heavy parts, but it wasn't really like there wasn't just like a full on like in your face song. So we put that one together with Ryan LaTrue, who did, he's done our previous records and stuff. We did some work with him to like fine tune a couple things. And yeah, that song came together. It was basically Chris and him just like, all right, yeah, let's try this riff, maybe put your finger here instead, like whatever. And then I went off to like a little coffee shop down the street, wrote the lyrics for it in a couple hours, and then came back. And basically the idea being, it's like I just wanted to capture kind of how everybody was feeling like in that moment, like kind of like we were all like collective victims of this pandemic, and that's not exactly like, that's not the only thing you could take away from it. Obviously, it's like when you're writing a song, you have like a million things in your brain, and then you try to make sense of it after. But like that was one thing that came to mind. And then also just trying to like get through, it's like when you have an obstacle or something that feels kind of like insurmountable, you want to like try to move through it as much as you can. Sometimes it doesn't feel like there's a way out, but sometimes you just gotta like just lay in and like dwell on those emotions a little bit, and just kind of like feel that trappedness, feel that aggression. And then sometimes that is just the best way to like get it out and just move forward and go on to the next thing.
And I kind of wanted to ask like a similar question about The Death We Seek, because that was also a very interesting song to me, like lyrically. If there's anything you wanted to say about it?
Oh yeah, that one is kind of like that's like sort of our way of, or at least my way of like tying in some of the previous records and stuff, like with the visual aspect. Like we had this little kind of theme going of like with The Place I Feel Safest and the way it ends, like the covers are pretty similar, and I kind of wanted to play into that with this song. We wrote the instrumental and most of the lyrics and such were written probably like right after The Way It Ends. We had this weird little hot streak of like Chris was just writing really sick stuff, and I still wanted to write more because I kind of felt, um, I felt like with The Way It Ends, like I did a lot for it, but I feel like I felt like I could do more, and I could have, I still had a little more I wanted to say. So that was like pretty good timing where he already had something that was sick, and I was like, okay, cool. Let me just take this clean slate, make it happen. And yeah, lyrically, it was kind of about, um, trying to tie the records together and kind of like paint a picture a little bit more of a story, and something that we could kind of like expand on a little bit and have fun with. So that's the Death We Seek pretty much.
So are you guys trying to like have like some kind of overarching story between all your records that like kind of progresses, or?
Yeah, we're trying to piece something together. We're with the Death We Seek, we kind of started with like a little story, and we're gonna try to keep that moving and kind of keep that theme happening for a little while, just because I think we made something pretty cool, and to kind of like build on that world a little bit and try to make a like a better understanding for people, at least for fans, to like dig into a little more, just to have that extra little thing happening. Because all I do is sit and watch TV and just read things, and I just love a good story. So like trying to like tackle something like that is kind of inspiring. So we'll see what happens.
So are you like, when you're writing, are you writing from like your personal experiences? Or are you more like narrating?
It's kind of like narrating, because anything that we're doing with this is a little bit removed from like our lives. It kind of feels like fantasy-ish a little bit, just in the way of like, just kind of like the themes and the concepts, and like, the stories of the videos and the record and such. So I kind of like that idea of just kind of like getting away and doing something a little different, and something that pulls more towards like things that I enjoy, to like kind of keep the escapism going, because that's kind of like what music should be, I feel like.
Is that what personally like drew you to music when you're getting into it?
Yeah, I would say. I never really had, so like my understanding of music wasn't really that crazy when I was younger. Like nobody's really is. And the more I kind of fell into this world, the more I began to appreciate the art and like what different people would try to do. Um, you know, because when you're listening to music when you're younger, it's just you just listen to the stuff that you like. Like you're not really listening to like lyrics all that much, probably, unless they just stand out to you. You just like the sounds and you like the things that are happening. So like when I got started, it was like, I would just try to find things I liked. And then as I got older, I started to appreciate when people would try to like tie things into each other and like have kind of a theme and a concept that you could follow and like kind of like identify with that band. So I like Defeater is a good example of that, where like they have this story that they tell in different perspectives on each record and stuff like that. So we're not like super big concept album people, because sometimes I feel like that can be kind of limiting. But I would rather we just do our thing and we do what we want to do, and then try to put it together from that point and make something that is, its own fully realized idea that supports everything that we've already done, and just keep doing.
That's really interesting.
We haven't really done much with it yet, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Well, I mean, I know I'm not the only one who's really excited to see where this new record's going, especially story-wise. Now I'm really stoked for it.
Yeah.
When you guys are writing, like coming up with these concepts, like do you do the lyrics yourself, or would you say that's like a collaborative process, or?
It comes from me for the most part. I'd say probably like, as far as instruments go, instruments, that's mostly Chris's department, and then we'll kind of have input one way or another, but it's like 95 to like 90 him, and then vocally it's the other way around. Like it's like 90 to 95% me, and then the rest is like tinkering with like I'll have the whole song ready to go on my own unless there's things I just don't know what to do with, and then people will kind of like pick and prod and from there and try to make it better. But like, yeah, it's mostly me, and then all of the thematic kind of stuff is more like in here, I guess.
And I know you guys have had like quite a change in your lineup throughout the years with like the way that you guys write, with like you doing a lot of the vocals and like somebody else being very in charge of like the instrumentals. How do you think with the changes in your lineup that's been affected with your sound?
So sound has stayed pretty, I feel like, consistent with where things were going, you know, like as far as like Chris has been involved in the band since 2015 or 2014, I think. Like he had done stuff with the band before me. He helped them write Life Lost, which was their EP before me. And then yeah, I guess I would say that the process hasn't really changed much, and we've kind of pretty much kept the same core writing team the entire time, at least that I've been in it. We found a good working relationship with Ryan LaTrue, and we've worked with a lot of like really talented audio people in the past, like, you know, Andrew Wade and you know, Nolly and all that stuff. But anyway, the core team is kind of been the same, so it feels consistent. And I think everybody, you know, we trust the ears around us, right? Like everybody in the band, like we trust their input. Like we all know each other's musical tastes and like what's cool, what we all kind of think is cool. Like, you know, we can all listen to like a part and be like, oh, I know Matt would really like this, or like, oh, Christian's gonna freak over this or whatever. So like we try to like anchor ourselves and our ideas based on kind of like, you know, what we know that the close peers are going to like really vibe with. And if we can all say that this is sick, then like we run with it, you know?
Mm-hmm. And you started talking about some of the like collaborations that you've done with like audio people. Is there any collaboration that you've done in the past that like really stood out to you that you're really stoked about?
In the past, I really liked our time with Andrew Wade. He was awesome. We recorded with him. We did The Place I Feel Safest with him over in like Winter Park, Florida. And he was cool in the sense of like he's this legendary guy, but he was just so chill and funny and like, you know, helpful and like very productive. And like that was our first real like big time studio experience, which funny enough we haven't really done since. Like most of our recording we do close to home, like you know, Chris will record the instrumentals and such himself, and then I'll either record with Chris or like I'll go to somebody that's like close by, that's like a friend or whatever, and we'll go get that done. Like we had Ricky Armolino, who does like, he's with Ice Nine Kills, and he has his like This Is the Apocalypse and Hawk and all that stuff that he does. But he helped us track the vocals for The Way It Ends. Like I don't know, we've like I'll say my answer for now is working with Andrew Wade, because that was like the standard like real studio experience that I think people really look forward to when they're like growing up and they're inspired and they want to like you know, make it big and all that stuff. And having that experience was a lot of fun.
Is there a reason that you guys choose to stay more like locally now?
For one, it's mostly because like Chris is just super capable. Like he records this. Chris Wiseman I'm talking about, that he's the like the main composer for the band, but he also produces in his own time. Like he works with other bands to get their stuff to be how they want it to be. He'll record them, mix them, master them, all that stuff. And so having like a weapon, like a literal weapon like Chris at, you know, on the team is just, it's game changing. So like he's very talented and he's very willing and he's very driven. So like him stepping up and playing that big role is, I don't know, it's awesome for us. And we wouldn't really see it any other way as far as like the big studio thing, because we can do everything we need with the tight knit squad that we have. But if that changed, like, we'd be open to trying something at some point. But it's been working. It's been working for what I Let the Devil In, The Way It Ends, and beyond. So we'll see.
The same way I asked what your favorite collaboration in the past is there anything that's coming up that you're super excited about in terms of collaborations with other artists or producers?
I don't know. We have some ideas. It would be cool to do a collab with somebody, because we don't really do, like, we've never had like a guest feature on a record or anything like that. Like, I've done features and stuff in the past, but to do like a straight up collab with like somebody that we've toured with, or somebody that like you know we I don't know, it's hard to say. Like, it would be cool to collab with a few guys. Like, I have some ideas of people in the scene that might be cool to work with, but yeah, the future's pretty open right now.
Do you have like a dream lineup?
Ooh, I don't know, for like a tour, or like to get like guest vocalists.
Like a song, tour, anything like
Oh
that?
man, I love Invent Animate, and like I see us touring with them, a good amount in the future, just because like they're homies, and like we vibe well together and all that stuff. So I don't know, doing something with them would be pretty cool. Be kind of cool to do something with like Fit for a King too, because Chris already has a project with Kirby that they kind of work on here and there. I don't know what they got going on now, but maybe crossing those worlds a little bit might be fun too.
Yeah. And with this new tour that you're about to do, earlier you mentioned that like you used to like practice with Parkway Drive. Like that's got to be crazy that you're going on tour with them now.
I still have this old video of my first band when I was like 14, and we're covering Boneyards by Parkway Drive. It's in just like a basement. I'm screaming through like somebody's like bass amp on like this like $5 microphone, and it's actually not bad. It's pretty good.
Have
But
they seen this video?
no, I hope they never do. But if I get a few drinks or something, and like they're chill, and like they're just hanging out, and we're having a good time at some point, maybe I'll just be like, yo, dude, so But I don't know. I don't know if I can lay that punishment on them. I don't know if I can do it.
Do you still like have a bunch of videos and like recordings of you and your previous bands? Like, is this still like a number that you hold really close to your heart, or are you more like looking towards the future?
I mean, it's always good to know where you came from a little bit. So like, there's my first like serious band. We were called The Tale of My Defeat. And we had some stuff. I think it's still on Spotify, which is really funny. You can find it on YouTube, but that was like my first kind of foray into like actually recording songs. That was the first time I ever had songs with a band that we recorded and then played shows playing those songs. So like that was the first time I was in a band that played like all originals, or even just played a show at that point. But like yeah, and I wish I had more old recordings of when I was like younger, like learning to scream and stuff. I think I on like some old hard drives or like old laptops or whatever, I'm sure I've probably got like, I don't know, like a few, like a handful. But those are always funny, and I kind of wish I could find them, and I would just throw them online because it's awesome.
Do you have any advice for somebody like starting at like you age 13 trying to learn how to scream, like anybody trying to figure out a way to get into the scene? Do you have anything you'd want to say?
You gotta just like find people that you really like and make friends with them. Go to local shows, find people as close as you possibly can that are into the same stuff as you, and just try to have fun and make stuff happen. Your first band doesn't have to be the band that takes you to the moon. Sometimes that happens to people. Other times it takes like 5 or 6 bands like me. So like, you know, as much as you can find people and do things within your own I guess, realm to keep growing and moving forward. Like, just keep the fight going, and just try to like get out there as much as you can, and you know, have your parents drive you to like band practice or whatever, because it's tight and it's fun. So like, I don't know. And always just have fun with it. Like, don't get too bogged down about like trying to make something happen, because it it could in a minute and it could take a while. So like, just keep doing you and having fun and being able to like look at what you're doing and say, this is sick, you know?
Well, that was about all the questions that I have for you. Is there anything else that you wanted to share with WSOU? Anything you wanted to shout out?
Yeah, we're going on tour with Parkway Drive. It starts on the 1st of February and it ends on the 18th of February. Oh my God, with Heart Support Fest. And that's going to be a lot of fun. So we're looking forward to going pretty much to some places in the United States. It's kind of a short one, but that is the next time you can see us until not shortly, but like, you know, probably a little more towards like the spring or the summer.
Mhm.
So, you know, if you don't want to wait, make it to a show.
Well said. Thank you so much for taking time. I know you're super busy with everything. We
Oh,
really
not at all.
appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome.